and welcome back to the Double Radio Wrestlecast. Brett and I are here, and we're going to talk about Full Gear. That's
Finally.
what we're finally going to do. It actually hasn't been that long. It's only been a week.
No.
Sometimes it feels longer.
Yes, sometimes it feels longer because, scheduling and stuff. But this time, at least, this was a really good pay-per-view. So I've been
Yeah, I
excited to
mean,
friggin'
we've
talk about
turned a
it.
cheek
I
from
know.
some of the last ones. Not to say that they were bad, but I think we were decidedly less excited to talk about them
Yes.
than I
All
think
Out
we are
was...
about Full Gear
Yeah.
2022. Because there was some bangers in here, and we were surprised. We were wrong for
A
quite a
lot.
lot of
We
this
were
show,
very, very wrong.
far more so than usual. So we're gonna jump straight in and talk about the pre-show because the pre-show we didn't get to talk about beforehand because we had to record before Rampage, which meant we didn't know what matches were on the pre-show. So we got a few pre-show matches to go over. Nothing too insane, but some fun stuff regardless. The Factory and Best Friends.
Yeah.
Classic
This is
pre-show
just fun.
opener. This is just a fun
Yeah.
match.
This was
Factory
the
is like
one...
the throw them against someone in the pre-show and then they get bodied and it's a fun couple of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. This for as jobber-y as the Factory is, it's a good excuse for QT being a coach in real life to kind of take some of the guys that he
Yeah,
has under him and do some like television worthy stuff with them basically. Because the matches on the pre-show usually are pretty entertaining. Sometimes they're more entertaining than some of the matches on the actual card for pay-per-view
hmm
sometimes. But is this the match where the best friends were like, and we're gonna have one secret extra guy, and you're never gonna guess him, and then the silhouette was like clearly Danhausen.
yeah.
It's
Clearly
so
Danhausen with his teeth.
yes, Danhausen comes out like 75% of the way through the match. And this is important to point out because most people that know Danhausen from just AEW don't know that he's actually really good and like is like a like super like insane and is
hmm
like honestly sometimes so crazy that he's a heel because those are human teeth and he will do things with them to you.
Sometimes you
So
just gotta, Britt threatens things with teeth. Danhausen does things with teeth.
exactly. It's
You gotta take it a step further.
one of these days, and however many years it takes for intergender matches to really take off, we need a teeth versus teeth match with Britt and
Yep,
Danhausen.
be great.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very funny to see him come out, and then my little section in the audience was all screaming, "He's got teeth! He's got
We just
teeth!"
want to point
Like,
out you were at the show for this one. You
yes,
made this pay-per-view. We're on a good
yeah.
record of actually getting to go to shows, which is great.
I know, yeah. It's like when AEW first started, I was like, oh, that would be a cool thing to sometimes do in some unthinkable amount of years from now. But I don't know. It's actually they get around the
They
country.
get around and
So,
tickets are not that badly priced. That's
yeah, it's
a
pretty
big
crazy.
part of it is it's reasonable to actually get pay-per-view tickets
Yeah,
to these. You're paying like a tenth of a concert ticket for any kind of popular musician.
yeah.
It's
And it's not
wild.
like most concerts where everything's like shoved off to one side
Yeah.
and like they stay the same place the whole time. And if they're small, it's like, well, the music's good, so I'm not gonna like complain about it, but I'd rather be in the front row so I can see them or whatever. Wrestling, they're right in the middle. And it doesn't really matter if they're the size of like the way they are in the video game because the video games are like framed that way for a reason, so you can see everything.
Yeah.
It kind of works out pretty well.
And they generally do a good job of having using arena seats well and making sure that
Yeah.
generally the actual squared circle is visible to everyone. So I think AEW's done a really good job at that for the most time. Except for, you said there was a noise
Yes, there was
going
so
on.
halfway. I don't know, maybe halfway through the pay per view. At some point, when the match happens, I'll mention what it is if you don't know what happened during the pay per view yet. I don't want to spoil. But like it was a really pivotal moment in the pay per view, and then after that, there's like a horrible like it was like a
Squeaking noise.
like when you get flashbanged and there's like
Oh yeah, the like
the high
tinnitus
pitched squeal.
sound.
Exactly. It was like that for like multiple hours, really, really loud. And I was like, am I finally is my like left ear finally gone? Is
Did
that
it
is
just
is that it?
go?
But then someone behind me mentioned it, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not just me, thank
Yeah.
God. But it took them a really long time to fix it. But I guess it didn't get picked up on the broadcast, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't get picked up on the broadcast to my knowledge. Maybe it shows up at one point and then the crowd was just too loud for it to be
Hopefully not.
audible most of the time.
It
All
didn't
right,
seem like
well,
most people cared.
moving on. We got two big signings for AEW. We didn't talk about this before, but Renee Paquette is All Elite,
Yes.
as well as Konosuke Takeshita, which I think we're
Finally.
both very excited about.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
Takeshita is
God.
great. I'm very excited to see what he does now that he actually has a contract, because that means he can win more matches.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that. Yeah, and Renee Paquette is a great interviewer. So I don't think there's a better person they could have behind a mic
I
for these
agree.
types of interviews. All right, moving on. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage had their semifinal match for the Eliminator tournament. This was the match that was originally slated for the pay-per-view, but got pushed because someone else was injured. I want to say it was Ethan Page or something happened that
I think it was Ricky because he
it
got
was Ricky,
slammed
but he
into
was
the door
injured
and
for
got
the match that was
actually
meant to
hurt.
happen on Rampage, and something
Yes.
got moved about. So yeah, there's some weird things going on here. Of course, Ricky Starks took this. I don't think anyone had a question of who was going to take this
Yeah.
between Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. One of them just gets pushed a lot more, which I don't have a problem with because I love Ricky Starks, but Brian Cage is an intimidating person.
Yeah. I have a feeling, when it gets more Ring of Honor centered things, he's probably going to be able to do some cooler
Yeah,
stuff because that's where he is nested right now.
be a good Ring
But
of
yeah, this
Honor champ for a little while.
yeah, yeah, just like your typical juggernaut guy that's tough to take down and then have it be taken by someone new or something like that. That's future stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this match was pretty good. It's you kind of forget sometimes that these guys were in a pretty like desperate feud with each other for a little
Yeah,
bit with Team Taz. Uh, but they this match played out like a rematch. It was pretty damn good for a pre-show.
yeah.
That's
I'd
kind of
challenge you to find a bad Ricky match under most
yeah.
circumstances. He's usually pretty solid, and Brian Cage is generally pretty solid too. All right, next we had our AW Fight Forever trailer. Looks fine.
I was
I'm gonna
expecting
play it,
more. I'm gonna
but
play it no matter what.
I want to see the match. I want to see the main menu. That's what I want to see is the main menu because I need to know if the campaign mode actually exists or not. Because they keep talking
Yeah,
about it, but they haven't shown it at all, and it's I don't know when this game is gonna come out. Maybe we'll get something at the Game Awards, but who knows?
it's
I don't know
it's
if
to the point.
AEW Fight Forever is big enough for the Game Awards in terms of a wrestling audience being there.
Doubt. Yeah,
But I
don't
could
know.
see Jeff Keighley. If Jeff Keighley's into wrestling, it's at the Game
Oh
Awards.
yeah,
If
if
not,
Jeff Keighley's into wrestling, he comes out on stage with like Kenny Omega or something.
yep.
Uh, yeah, but it's to the point where they showed the trailer for it again on TV. I think it was on Rampage. Uh, and my parents were like, "Oh, Brett, you didn't tell me there was a wrestling video game coming out." And I was like, "Oh, they've been talking about this for
For like
all year."
years.
But apart from the little like bumper coming up on the side of the screen, they don't really talk about it all that much.
Yeah, and
So
it's also going to be weird because a few of the current champs are not in the game, which makes sense because this is developed on a pretty hard schedule, from my understanding. But
mm,
I know the acclaimed are not in the base game, which is going to be a little awkward
a little bit, yeah.
with if it has some kind of title simulation. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's fully just its own thing, which is fine if it is. All right. Next, we got Eddie Kingston cutting a promo ahead of the match uh, with Jun Akiyama, if I can find the name correctly.
This match was based.
I mean,
This,
any Eddie match, the crowd's gonna go wild for, and you throw him
yeah.
against a Japanese person, even if they probably aren't from New Japan, I think everyone would just get excited. So
The thing about Eddie is that like he he is one of like the guys to put up against someone from Japan
yeah,
because I would guarantee I had no idea who Jun Akiyama is, and I would guarantee that probably 85% of the people watching AEW from their house do not know who Jun Akiyama is. But Eddie makes you feel like you know who Jun Akiyama is, because Eddie's like, when I was 18 years old, I saw your match and I said I want to beat the crap out of you, Jun Akiyama, and I'm gonna do that tonight. And then he does, and it was like,
Yeah.
typical Eddie match. It's just a total brawl with like some suplexes here and there between the chops.
Which fits with
Uh,
Japanese wrestling styles very well.
yes,
That's a big reason why Eddie goes up against so many Japanese wrestlers, is because it's a style that is a little bit more familiar.
yes, and he like talks about that too in the promo. How he's like, thank you Misawa, thank you all the old greats that I've learned my style from or whatever. Of
Yeah.
course, he's like in tears after beating Jun Akiyama, and they like hug it out, and I'm like sitting there in the crowd like, it's perfect. Just having no idea who this guy was like 2 hours ago. But yeah, I don't. Your typical Eddie banger. You just put him anywhere and he'll do a great job.
Absolutely. All right. With that, the 0 hour pre-show is done, and it's time for our full AEW full gear discussion. We're gonna go match by match in the order that they happened. So if for some reason you've watched part of the pay-per-view and not the other part, we're gonna go in order. So you can still listen until we get to the part that you haven't watched. Our opener, we got some strong openers for this pay-per-view.
Oh yeah.
This
Oh
was
yeah.
big match to open on. Steel cage match with
Crazy.
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. This is just a big match to start with.
Yeah.
I am.
I mean,
Look, I gotta say, this is a feud that's been going on for a while. I think the reason it hasn't necessarily worn its welcome off yet is that this one actually has the background to support it.
yeah.
Of these people were with each other for a very long time, so it felt like this was a good continuation of that, especially because Christian is injured. Hopefully not for long, but he is out of the match, because I think the rumor going around was that this was going to be a Christian and Jungle Boy match.
Hmm.
I'm kind of happier with what we got. To be
Yeah, because
honest.
this is like, that would seem a lot more final. I think we talked about
Yeah,
this in the pre-show podcast, where I think we're okay with this kind of going on for a little bit longer if they can keep up the pacing.
yep,
Because this felt like Jungle Boy needed a big win over the situation, and he got it. Spoiler alert, I guess.
hmm
Uh, but it's still, Christian and Luchasaurus haven't said anything after the fact yet, so you can kind of tell that they're still looming in the background. No one knows what's going to happen next. But yeah, this like some of the things that happened definitely could not have happened with Christian. I feel like,
yeah.
because just because this kind of match suits
You can't
more
tell
like
the big guy versus small guy story, David and Goliath
exactly.
situation with Christian Cage. You can do like the experienced wrestler versus the up and comer, but at this point, it's hard to call Jungle Boy an up and comer because he's been
Yeah,
at it for a while and is very
with the
good.
crowd. Yeah, you have the
So
crowd chanting "Jungle Man" for him now. He's growing
yeah,
up. He's not the Jungle Boy he used to be.
yeah. So
Uh,
I think this worked out really well. I'm a big fan of having gimmick matches where they are needed. So I'm glad this was a steel cage match, because this is the type of match that benefits from it.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely feels like this is a good one to kind of stack the odds maybe against Jungle Boy, put him in a steel cage with a big wrestler, and then you could tell the story of Jungle Boy, because of course he wins at the end of this. He takes this home, and it's just a really solid match the whole time. I think this is the kind of storytelling that AEW gets right more often than not.
Hmm.
So I'm glad we had one here, because we haven't had a
Yeah,
gimmick match in a while. At least not like a cage gimmick match.
yeah. I think the last cage match that I remember having is the tag titles one with the Elite and Lucha
Yeah,
Bros,
it
and that
depends
match
on
was
if
really good.
Blood and Guts was after that or not. I don't remember if Blood and Guts was
Oh
after
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but yeah, at least one-on-one cage match. We haven't had one in a long time, and this felt like it deserved it. So glad we got
For
one.
sure. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this match?
We had some wacky spots here. This is, I mean, like, table spots find new ways to one up each other in terms of brutality every time they happen. I feel like but something about Jungle Boy doing an elbow drop off the top of the cage, back into the ring where Luchasaurus is laying on a table and just perfectly cleaves it in
Look, I'm
half.
also just
There's
a fan
no
of
like,
anytime someone pulls out a drop kick,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
happy.
yeah. And this is a very kick heavy match because it's these
Yeah.
two guys. So, but yeah, that table spot at the end, I was sitting next to my mom and she thought that like one of them had died because it looked so like insane. It was crazy, but definitely a really sick match to start off with. This definitely got expectations really high for the rest of the show, I feel like.
Yeah. And I also think that just the image of a submission against Luchasaurus is an impressive sight.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it just is a very impressive ending because it looks like it shouldn't work and then it does. So
Exactly.
fun match, good opener. I don't know what else could have been in the opening except for our next match, which is also an equally strong opener.
Yeah.
Which is the Elite coming back, popping off with Kenny and the Bucks against our good old Death Triangle. This is a classic match. This is the run back whenever they need to get people excited for something. You put these two against each other, throw the Bucks and any of the Triangle members in a cage. You're having a good
It
time.
works.
You add
Yeah.
Kenny into the mix and take the cage out in this circumstance, and you still get a good match.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just first of all, I think it goes for both of us. I'm just so glad that the Elite are back.
Yeah, you
I'm
felt
so
their
glad that the Elite are back.
absence the
Dude,
last couple
when
months.
they can we I forget, can we swear full on the
Yeah, we
Wrestlecast? I
can.
forget.
You can.
Okay. The fuck CM Punk chants
Incredible.
were so loud, like only compared like relatively to what will happen later and at the end of the show. CM Punk chants were the loudest the whole entire time up until then. At least from my point of view. We had like maybe one guy in the background that kept going, "Boo!" like really obnoxiously, and like you could tell it was just one guy 'cause he's like screaming his heart out to boo the Elite, and then just thousands of angry, angry New Jersey citizens all screaming "fuck CM Punk" as loud as they can.
Yeah.
And they keep it on the Being the Elite episode. They take the music out so you can hear them, and all the people that are still somehow
It's
backing
great.
him on Twitter are like, "The Elite are being they're babies. These are the EVPs of your company. They're treating this like children." And it's like,
Who
I don't know. Their
cares?
career was almost ruined. I can't blame them.
Yeah, there's a time and a place
Uh,
for it, and this was the time and place
I
for
yeah,
for the
I want to
situation.
agree.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I don't know what anyone else could have expected, to be honest, at this point. Kind of
yeah, and
the resolution of this. Although we still don't have a full resolution for Punk because there's more rumors floating around now that AEW is not pursuing a buyout because they really don't have a reason to. And Punk is the one who wants a buyout so that he can go do something
oh
else.
my,
And now, again, all rumors, so we don't actually know
yeah.
anything. But it's fun to talk about, regardless. We'll see what happens
It
with that
is.
at some point, I'm sure. Or maybe Punk will just fade into the background.
Yeah, maybe that's the better option.
Maybe that's for the
than
best.
yeah, I don't know. We like people now seem to think that like there was something that was like people were jumping to conclusions that like, oh, see, this means that the Elite really were. Oh, it was that Tony Khan in the post media scrum for this was like, oh, uh Punk wasn't the reason that Colt Cabana was off the main roster or whatever. He was just training a lot of people. And me selecting Colt Cabana to do that big comeback match against Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor title wasn't, a middle finger to Punk. That was just
Decided
I just thought it
earlier
would
or
be a good
something.
match. Which he could be, just saying that to save face. I think that is a genuine possibility
Yeah.
because, as much as people like to say that Tony Khan is a baby, he is a fully grown adult male with
Who
intelligence
was the
and
owner of a
agency of his
company, and
own.
sometimes saving face
Yes.
is what you have to do.
Um, but also, I don't understand how that means that the Elite are liars now, and that makes them like bad people again because
Hmm.
I don't understand how that connects to them. But I saw a lot of discourse when TK first was talking about that made me confused. So I thought I should
Yeah.
bring it up because I don't think it makes sense. I don't know if you think it makes any sense, but
No,
I think the consensus.
I think this whole Punk situation at this point is just Punk made some bad calls, and regardless of what happened, the sequence of bad calls was so bad that now he's either going to need to cool off for another 6 months, or I don't know what he's going to do. Like, honest
Yeah,
thing here is this has put so much bad blood, I'm sure, in the locker room. Because morale
exactly.
is important for running a company, especially one that is not the top dog in wrestling. I think you have to have the draw somewhere, and if your company's like personality is better, that will win people over. And
Exactly.
if Punk is there bringing the vibe down, as goofy as that sounds, that is a big problem.
Yeah.
There's a reason that like there's so many wrestling stories about backstage issues from the 90s and 80s that people are like, we'll never talk to these people again because they're horrible.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like avoiding that situation is a good thing, and it makes sense because Punk wrestled in those years. He was a younger wrestler at the time, but he did, and I think he's taking some of that backstage drama from then into a company that is now not filled with that type of person.
Yeah.
Because these are
It's
largely younger wrestlers. Largely, they grew up wrestling. Many of them for Japan, which tends to not
Mhm.
have the same issues. It has its own issues, but not the same ones. So
And a lot of the older guys are guys that like had drama in the past, but at this point they're just like, we just want to teach the young people,
yeah,
so who cares? uh, but yeah, it's another thing where it's like you could totally end up with a similar situation to what kind of ended up happening with Cody towards the end
hmm
of his AW time, where it's just like he walks out, and if you're the crowd, like, what do
you're just like,
you
what do you? You can't
exactly?
cheer because you don't like him. You can't boo because you don't feel enough. What?
Exactly, and so like I feel like if any time from this point on that CM Punk comes out into an AEW ring, I'm almost like worried of what will happen. Like either it's going to be just like so mixed and weird, and it's never going to change because I don't think for a lot of people he's going to
Yeah,
be able to get like a straight up and down opinion from them, or it's just going to be like someone's going to climb the barrier and do something stupid because wrestling fans.
yeah.
Um,
Both
but I
very real possibilities. I think
yeah,
the
and
only circumstance I could see Punk returning to AEW specifically is in permanent heel position, having learned something serious from the backstage stuff, but just using it as part of a storyline.
yeah.
But I think then you run the risk of the morale problem of everyone else being like, he's playing into this idea of these backstage issues that were really bad. Uh, so I don't know. I think he's just put himself in a really rough position no matter what happened.
And speaking of playing into backstage issues that are really bad,
Yep,
I do want to talk about the current state of this feud right now, but we got to get through this match
we
first.
do.
Uh, this match, as we said, you'd expect an Elite versus Death Trial match to be great, and it was fantastic. And then it ended with Death Triangle winning
I
via
know.
cheating.
I think both of us were stunned.
I was like, no, in my seat. I was screaming. I would like for like a little bit. I was like legitimately mad a little bit because I was like, I came to see Kenny Omega win,
Yep.
and now he lost. And then, you know, at the end of the show, Tony Khan opens up the arc of the fucking Covenant at this point and reveals that Elite versus Death Triangle is going to be part of a 7-match series of matches every single week leading up to Winter is Coming.
I'm
I
super excited.
this is why this man gets paid the big bucks. Even if it
Yeah.
was some other person that suggested it to him, I hope so for his sake, because we've talked about before, he shouldn't be the only guy booking everything. But this is a sign that they're doing something right. Because I this is have these 7 matches in a series, and apart from maybe one-on-one matches between the individual members to settle
Yeah.
feuds later, they don't have to fight again for the rest of the year after that, because at that point they've done so many cool things at this
And then
point.
imagine in 3 years they run it back, and there's so much behind it. You know,
Exactly.
that's what this is about. Long-term storytelling.
Um,
It's
and
exciting.
it heals the whole thing with how did the Elite lose when they came back. That doesn't make any sense. Well,
A
back
hammer.
to at the hammer. 2 hammers now. After the Dynamite episode, the 2 hammers were
Yep.
featured. Very, very sad to see that Pac had to come out with a very obviously broken nose, caused by some sort of trauma to the face, possibly with some sort of weapon. Horrible to see Kenny Omega biting someone on the arm. That's something you would expect from a dog, almost, to do
Or
that.
maybe from Ace Steel. You know.
Exact. That's what I was going for.
I know,
I
but remember the
I
dog wasn't doing the biting.
Exactly. But I'm still like caught up with that a human being was doing a biting and the dog wasn't. But oh my god, the amount of just like digs at the situation in Chicago for the Dynamite match on
Yeah.
last Wednesday was crazy, and I didn't realize it at first because like, oh, this is brutal, and then Kenny Omega bit I think it was Fenix on the arm, and I was like, wait just a second. These guys are really, really mean. That's awesome.
Yep.
Because like I forget if it was to you or to other Ryan. I just said in all caps, AEW hates Chicago. Because that is punk town, and people in the audience have like punk like signs and stuff up, and it's the whole entire time for that match the audience is just screaming their heads off in every direction. It was like this, the fact that
It's how to
they
work a
are,
crowd.
yeah, exactly, the fact that they're like digging super deep into like that side of this feud, uh it for me at least, it like completely overrides how interesting just the singular pay-per-view match was, because this whole big thing is now way more interesting, and
Yeah.
it's going in a direction I wasn't expecting. Because I feel like, a lot of people were expecting the Elite to come back and be, yeah, we're so happy to be back, carry on my wayward
Yeah. Do a quick
son.
face turn. You know.
Exactly. Nope,
No.
just down the downward spiral, baby. See how
Yeah.
deep we could go. I am
Excited for
excited and
this.
kind of worried.
This is also the start of the downward spiral of us predicting the wrong thing and
Yes,
giving the other
this
person points. Because I mean, Brett and I were both pretty adamant that this was gonna be Elite winning. But Brett,
Mhm.
you had the pick for this, so you picked Elite, and that means I got stuck with Death Triangle, which means I'm now at 2 points because I also
Exactly.
picked Jungle Boy. So we're in a situation here. Let's keep going.
Yes.
Our next match is the TBS Championship with Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. 2 very good wrestlers at this point. The costumes did not disappoint.
Yes.
This was our
As
big
expected.
hope for this. Which I will say,
A
the Elite, I was expecting bigger. I thought there'd
little
be
bit.
wilder. I figured a wilder outfit was in order, but I understand why they didn't do it, because the match was a little bit more serious than I think we were expecting.
Yeah.
But man, I would have loved to see Space Jam again.
I know, yeah. And then they spent all their outfit budget on Carry On My Wayward Son.
Yeah,
They just didn't have anything else
yeah, nothing
to
else.
spend
No
for that.
time for
Yeah.
custom outfits for this. What a
Yeah.
shame.
Nyla came out in one of those bouncy ass cars, still touting the belt.
I can't believe those exist.
It's crazy. Who came up with that? It's just so
Don't know.
weird.
I want to give them a high five.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't understand the thought process, but I can get behind it.
I don't even know what they're called. That's just
Bouncy
crazy.
cars is a good way to put it.
Stick with that. Uh,
And Jade
Jade.
Cargill with a Thundercats outfit, which is pretty
Yes,
impressive. She's digging deep now. She's going
I
hard
know. It's
for
kind of
just
crazy.
the referential humor. Yeah, and she defended. I think this is a Jade match, with
Yeah,
the big difference here being that it's against a person who is also a beast in the ring, so it's a little bit more, I think, back and forthy than a lot of other Jade matches we've gotten. But yeah, it felt like a Jade match.
yeah, and I was expecting a little bit more
Mhm.
for this. we kind of talked this up a little bit. I feel like in the other episode, just because this is, and now Jade is not. Nyla Rose is no
And I
slouch.
do wonder if
Jade's also
maybe,
no
because
slouch.
there were a couple of, I don't fully know if these were botches or intended misses,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
but either way, they made Nyla look kind of bad
A little bit. Yeah.
at some of these, so iffy on that. I'm a little iffy on, I'm okay with missed spots being part of a story, like planned botches, and I'm okay with regular botches in most circumstances, but sometimes I think you have wrestlers that need to hit something big,
Yeah, there
and
wasn't a
Nyla
big
needs to hit
thing.
something big at least once a match, and I
Yeah.
don't know that she did in this circumstance.
So this to me this was this is towards the bottom of my enjoyment scale for this, unfortunately,
It's
because
also
I
right
was
after
really
two
looking forward to
really,
it.
really hyped up matches.
Yeah.
So this is
It's
the
almost like you
unfortunate. This is the
can't.
TBS championship position that they keep putting it in, where for pay-per-views it gets put right behind two really impressive big matches. And at that point, like even if it was a different pair of singles wrestlers, they're not going to live up to what just happened. But we
Yeah.
got to get something there. So there goes the TBS championship. Yeah,
Oh well.
I think it's all right. I'm still interested in where Jade's story is going to go, but I just don't know what our resolution for this is going to look like. I think there's got to be one coming soonish, but
I hope so.
I just want to see Jade
Keep
do
it
something
interesting.
different at this point. That's my thing. Like,
Exactly.
I like Jade. I just want to see her gimmick evolve a little bit
Mhm.
in some direction. It's the problem of like her gimmick right now is just wrestler who is better than you. There's a lot of
We got a
wrestlers who
lot
are
of
better
those.
than you
Yeah.
in AEW right now.
And you know
Um,
it.
yeah. Okay. ROH World Championship: Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Sammy Guevara. This is another
Wacky.
surprising match that ended in the way all of us were sure it would not.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least wanted it to not. But
Yeah.
I don't think this isn't a this. I don't think this is a case for
Well, because
different
we
reasons.
had each one of us, because other Ryan also did some picks for this. He just wasn't on the show. His pick for this was Danielson, which I think is very understandable. Brett's pick
Yeah,
was
totally.
Sammy. My pick was Claudio. Guess who
No
took it?
points.
Jericho. Which I
Uh,
think will be fine. I feel like they're building to something big with
yeah,
this in a way that I think will be very entertaining when we hit there. That's a little disappointing.
a little bit. I'm not sad
I'm
because
not
the match was
upset.
still really, really freaking good. They definitely this is the least interesting route to take. Uh,
Yeah.
they did what
It
we
also has the
said.
problem of, I don't know about you, the Judas effect is a mellow finisher to me.
Terrible. It's a terrible finisher. Just say it like it is.
Because
It's so
every
bad.
time I see a Judas effect, I'm like, Eddie Kingston's back elbow thing that he does looks
Oh, it's
so
so
much
much better.
better.
It's so much better.
It's not even that it's a bad concept for a move. I'm okay with the concept for the move. It just doesn't look like it would finish somebody. It's a weak looking
Yeah.
move. Which is why Jericho used to use it a lot more often, and it would be more of a like knockdown move rather than an
Mhm.
end of the match move, which I feel like that felt a lot better. But I do think he's talked about that the Lion Tamer and whatnot being hard to pull off against a lot of people because you need to have a very specific amount of flexibility for that to not be a dangerous move.
Yeah, yeah.
And he doesn't really have another big finisher move that we've seen him use recently, at least. So yeah, I'm just always
And
iffy
let's
when a match ends by Judas effect.
it never feels good. It very rarely it doesn't even feel like it's weird. It doesn't feel like it's, like, on the fault of Jericho, because it feels like the kind of move where, like, the bombasticness comes from how the other person sells it, right?
Which is why
However
I get so confused when you see Eddie do it and people
exactly.
sell so
I
well.
I don't think Eddie's, like, spinning back fist has ever looked bad. I don't know. I don't understand. Because they're just so similar in terms I don't know. But yeah, it never looks good to finish a match like that, in my opinion. Which I guess is maybe like kind of the point. Sometimes I understand, um,
Because
but this
it's an easy to
time,
pull out surprise finisher, but it
yeah,
really doesn't feel like it has earned it.
no, especially with like how good a lot of Jericho's even TV matches are now. Just to like finish so many of them up like that, it's like,
I know he is
all
capable of
right,
better, and I know people that are selling it are capable of better. So why are they not
exactly,
doing better? It's kind of the
yeah,
point we're at. Yeah, I thought Claudio also looked really good in this match because he's had, I don't know about a bad showing, but he feels mellower than I think the last pay per view where his impending arrival was really big. He's kind of
mm.
mellowed out a bit in terms of excitement. So I was glad
So
to
you know
see
what
him
to
get a big
expect
role in
now.
this match.
Yeah,
Sammy always looks good. I think that's the thing with Sammy is even if you don't like him, he looks very impressive whenever he's doing
yeah,
things. Um, yeah, I generally I think when Danielson is kind of the least important player in the match,
it's
they've
crazy.
created they have a good mix up here, and I'm okay with that because I think Danielson shows better in singles matches and always
Mhm.
had. That's his bread and butter. So I don't feel bad in this circumstance that he was not a bigger part of this match.
Yeah,
Because I think Sammy and Jericho are really the two big players here in terms of storytelling. So I'm excited to see
exactly.
where this goes. I hope Jericho. This is either a sign to me that ROH is getting another big show soon, or Jericho is going to drop it to someone soon as well. Because
Mm.
I don't see him holding on to it for any more than another couple of months at the most.
If
Because the
that,
ROH
because
title, yeah, if
yeah,
that, because the ROH title is just a weird thing to hold on to.
yeah, it's if they're going to make it be a part of something that makes Ring of Honor big or whatever, the time to pull the trigger for that is on what, December 10th or whatever they have
Yeah,
the Ring of Honor pay-per-view that's coming up. That would be the time. If nothing happens there, I'm just gonna be a little confused. I won't be
yeah.
upset. I'll just be like, "Oh, okay. That's weird." Um, I also hope they pull the trigger on this Sammy and Jericho situation again because just
They
on
have a
on
history
Dynamite
of
or
dropping
Rampage.
these things right after the pay per view, which is bizarre because you have
I
all the heat in the
know
world on them right now, and then you just let them
exactly.
dissipate.
It's like Jericho had a little promo where he was like, "Oh, I'm actually happy that Sammy was attacking me during the match because it shows signs of competition." It's like, well, you didn't look very happy when he was hitting you and jumping off the top rope and kicking you in the chest, Jericho. And then they all walked out together for the most recent Jericho Appreciation Society thing. And like Excalibur even pointed out, like, interesting to see Ty Mello and Sammy Guevara walking out with the rest of the Judas Appreciation Society. It's just like, yeah, it is interesting to see that. It would be a
Yeah,
lot more interesting if they weren't there. Just God, please.
it's a fun
Ugh.
gimmick for a while, but we're hitting the point of like this isn't a faction that can last for that long. Like,
Yeah,
it's got to be a
they're
breakup
silly.
at
Yeah.
some point. You know what? Maybe you can keep Daddy Magic around. Maybe he
He's
can be a
okay.
henchman for a long time if he's okay with it
Sports
because he's great. But
entertainers.
ugh, I think that they're hitting the point where they either need to be in a proper feud against a faction or they need to be moving to something else because AEW does a lot of like weird faction versus just random people stories. I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
never
true.
land correctly. Because there's no stakes to them. There's not a. I don't see a situation where one person is going to take on a whole faction of people and it be entertaining unless it's Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
That's the one situation you can do it in because Eddie Kingston calls people in. All right, moving past this match to our Soraya and Britt Baker match. This is one of the other big matches in this list that we talked a lot about this on the previous show that we did. We're kind of predicting where this would go, and I think the match that we got was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Uh Interesting that someone who's been out of the ring for 5 years wrestles a better match than Britt Baker, who's been in the ring for the last
Yeah.
several years. This match is for story purposes, and I think it told the story that it had to, about as well as you probably could have. You got the Soraya, kind of poking fun at her injury early on and doing like a faint thing where she's acting really hurt, and then she gets up and she's fine. And someone near me was like, "Don't do that. That's scary." Because it's like,
That's
yeah,
great.
like everyone's worried because they don't want her to actually be hurt or whatever. And she takes some pretty like crazy, crazy bumps on like the outside of the ring and on the apron and stuff. I believe it was
She took an air
a
raid at one point, which is
yeah,
a scary move for someone with neck injuries to sometimes
yeah.
take. Yeah, I think that this was really fun. It had the fault of being slammed in between two big multi-man matches that people were really looking forward to. I don't think this is the problem of the match type. I think this is a problem of Britt Baker not necessarily being the most exciting wrestler to watch all the time, and yet she is the only one who's so good on the mic to be on the show every week. So you run into the problem of people aren't excited for her matches anymore because she's on the show so much. She wrestles so often, and it's always the same match. Like she doesn't do more than one type of match, just because she's a newer wrestler. Her growth has been on TV for the most part, but I think we're hitting the point where Jade is starting to look better than she does, and Jade started far after her. So I do question the I think a lot of this is just on the other women in the division to practice promos better, because we have a real lack of promo talent in the women's division.
Which is
it's weird. Very strange to see that.
Yeah. My hope is that, I mean, they've kind of built it that way of Saraya kind of being the anti-Brit, because she can clearly hold her own on a live mic in the middle of a huge crowd, and she can also, actually do stuff in the ring, which is probably more important.
The combination that they need, right?
Exactly.
Because you got both of those things just all in separate people for the most part, which is a problem. Yeah, unless you're doing a wordless Sheeta promo, very few things stand up to it. I do think there's a secondary problem that goes into a lot of these matches, where the women's division has a lot of people that go, "I want to win because I want to beat you," as the promo. And that has never been super strong for me. It doesn't work in the men's matches either when they do that as a men's match thing, because there's just no history between these people, so nothing ever grasps. Maybe that'll be fixed after they've been here for a few years and there is history between people to pull from, but there's so little to pull at here for so many of these feuds that it's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, that's definitely tied with guy shows up with no like preamble or promo at all, and Excalibur is there to tell you that he and Darby Allin have had 10 years of history against each other in the Indies, and it's like, well, I'm just reading his name for the first time, dude. I'm okay, sure.
Yeah, at least set it up the week before or something.
Yeah, but
it's a common problem.
Yeah.
All right, Soraya won this. She looks good. She's doing her thing. I'm excited to see her wrestle someone who's got a faster style. I think that'll be really interesting to see. Yeah, I would just love to see her go against AQA. Would have been an interesting match. I don't think that's going to happen because AQA has either been injured or off of the roster now. I don't know which, but
I haven't seen her in a while.
She got injured right after she got signed, and then has since vanished. It was a bad injury too. It was not a light one. I think it was one of the same along the lines of what Darius Martin had. It's taken him out so often. So yeah, I would love to see her go up against someone with that speed. I don't know who that is. I think they can build a lot of feuds off of her presence. So we'll see. I'm excited to see where this goes. Any other thoughts on this match, Brett? No?
No, I'm just
It's a Brett match.
Same as you. I just want to see more Saraya now that she's supposedly free of the Brit feud. I want to see what she does next.
We'll see about that. That's another
I pray.
thing
I
that
hope and I
happens
pray.
sometimes.
Don't
Okay.
waste both of your like good promo female talent on each other for like months. Come on,
Yeah, it's
don't do that.
please don't do that.
Ugh.
Okay, moving on to the TNT Championship, Wardlow versus Hobbs versus Samoa Joe. Ooh, good match.
This was a good match.
This was big meaty men slapping meat, and sometimes that's
Oh,
what you need to see.
exactly. And they kind of twist your expectations with that. I feel like the good part about Wardlow, for a while there as TNT champion, he kind of almost fell into the Brit isms, into the Brock Lesnar circa 2021 isms,
Mhm.
where you know what to expect. Same thing over and over again into the Powerbomb Symphony to finish the match. Okay, whatever. It almost got a little boring for a while, and then he just decided to. I want to be a high flyer, but only for 5 seconds every week, and it's like crazy,
One
dude.
move, you get one move. It's always
and
great.
it's insane. Like because he's huge. He's like it's super rare that you see like three people in a ring together, and Wardlow looks like the leanest of the bunch and is able to do like high
Yeah.
flying maneuvers over Joe and Powerhouse. It's just crazy. Uh, I
Hmm.
don't know. The meat was slapped. I don't really know that there's anything else he could have asked for in this
I
match.
mean,
They did
the
it
thing
like
I didn't ask for,
perfectly.
but I'm glad we got was overhead moves.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of people getting lifted and slammed, which is I wasn't expecting that for the big men match. I was expecting maybe one person to do it, but we got multiple. I think everyone got a moment of doing a big
yeah.
slam, which was great. It's always fun to see big slams with big men.
Of course, loud as hell too when they hit the mat.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I love that.
Yep. I'm
Um,
also so there was not a clean finish to this
no,
as
yes, there
well,
was
which
a
is
spicy finish.
interesting. Joe used the title belt, as is often the prerogative of many multi-man wrestling matches, to take it off of the person who held it,
Hmm.
which is interesting because now I think they have a legitimate feud possibility between Joe and Wardlow for
Yeah,
a
and
while if they go
Hobbs,
that direction, and
honestly.
Hobbs, yeah. And I think this
Yeah.
is a good group to have a feud because these are like the only three people who can feasibly beat the other three people.
Yeah, yeah, at least that they have right now that aren't preoccupied, right?
Yeah, you can pull someone from the like elite or death triangle, but they're preoccupied with each other currently.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of potential here for getting these people in more weekly matches, which I think is very exciting because we don't often see these guys in regular television.
Yeah, yeah. Wardlow's been kind of swooped up in Wardlow's world and just like doing weird tag matches for
Yeah,
no reason. Uh
not a fan of
Seeing Joe
the big
is
guy tag matches just randomly. It's
yeah,
a great tag team dynamic, but not against with just random people.
yeah, not when one of them has, a singles title that they should be defending.
Yeah,
At least not for multiple weeks in a row. I never liked that. But it's always a treat to see Joe in action, especially after a lot of people kind of thought he was done for a while a couple of years ago.
yeah.
He's getting old, let's be honest. But he's still got it. It's crazy.
Still built like a
uh,
tank.
yeah, it's insane. That guy, oof. He's gonna be doing some crazy
Yeah,
stuff at the Ring of Honor pay per view for freaking sure, man. I'm
very
really
excited for
excited.
that.
Yeah.
All right, that's our new TNT Championship, Samoa Joe. This is also cementing me up to 4 points over your one, Brett.
Yeah,
Oh
I know.
boy. And I don't
You're
remember who picked
welcome.
first in that match.
That's a good
I
question.
think it was me because I was pretty adamant about Joe winning it.
I was also
Let me see
very
if I can
sure
find
about
it.
Powerhouse though, so it could have been me. I would not put it past me to do a wacky pick and cement my own defeat like that.
Yep. All right, we had a no DQ with Sting, Darby Allin, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett, accompanied by Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh.
I need to pay penance for my
Yeah.
past words. I did
Distance.
not know that Jeff Jarrett was actually really good.
We both
Because
were
you
doubting
see
him.
him, because I don't think either of us like you just see like old guy with a cowboy hat who comes out to
We're not old
you
enough
know,
to have watched Jeff Jarrett in his prime,
yes,
so
but
neither one of us had a frame of reference here.
it seems almost like he might actually be the perfect foil for Sting, and that his prime might not be over yet,
Yep.
even though I think he might be older than Sting. I think he
That's a
might be
great
even
question.
at least the same age. I don't know if you want to check that, yeah, but like I was just expecting, he's gonna take like a
No,
bump or
he's
something.
good 7 years younger than Sting. He's
Okay,
55.
but
Yeah.
still, like getting up there.
Very
Uh,
impressive, but believable that he could still wrestle
yes.
well.
Um,
Whereas Sting, I still am in a state of disbelief every single time I see him in a ring.
he's superhuman. Um, but it was actually pretty evenly matched this whole time through, and I was kind of surprised about that. I thought Jay Lethal was gonna have to do a lot more carrying. But no, I Jeff Jarrett was like totally capable of wrestling his own match. Like this didn't even really have to be a
I think I would
tag
have just
time. I'm glad
watched a
it
Jeff Jarrett
was.
and Sting match, to be honest. Like,
Exactly, honestly.
I do think having Darby here added, I don't know that Lethal was still the right pick for Jeff Jarrett.
No, but for the match it worked
Yeah, it
because,
worked.
things could happen.
It's just not as exciting. Uh, yeah, man, it was a good match though. I am glad that we got this. I think this is a wild match that exists at this point, that you can watch Jeff Jarrett and Sting go
Yeah.
at it in the year of our Lord 2022. Pretty wild.
And have it be good too. I think
And have
I
Sting still
was
jumping off of things. Every single time he jumps off
yes.
something, I get a little bit more nervous, but he's always fine. So
The way that we saw it from where we were sitting, he probably the closest I'll ever be to Sting in my lifetime. He was probably like 10 or 20 feet directly below me because I was like sitting on the edge of the balcony and looking down. He was right down there,
yeah,
dragging Jay Lethal over to whatever. He was just punching him through the stands. And just from the way we saw, it, just Sting jumped off and just disappeared in the sea of people. I was like, well, I hope he's okay because he's gone. It was
disappeared.
crazy. I
Yeah,
like, and he just to see him get right back up like 5 seconds later and start shouting like just wild man of the woods or something. I don't know, like what strange like medicine he's been taking. I don't know what he's on.
what eldritch
I
god he prayed to?
It's yeah, I don't know if he took a book out of the Chinese soldiers from the sort of the stranger and just no longer feels pain anymore. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, there was while that was happening, I think Darby had like a huge ladder spot up near the up at the
Yes.
ramp. And I just straight up was not able to watch that happen because I was so enamored by Sting being right there. And I just like look and see Sting do something crazy and I look back over and Darby's just dead on just the ramp, just laying there, completely limp in like the Yamcha death pose. And he stayed there for like 5 whole minutes, and I was like, man, something must have happened.
Hey, he's gonna have a nice
I'm sure
power
that was
nap.
crazy. Yeah, he's just gonna sit there for a little bit.
Yep.
Uh,
I am.
highlight.
I do wonder if we might get a Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal match at some point. I don't know if that's in the cards, but I could see Jeff Jarrett being angry that Lethal lost in the match.
Yeah, I'm game just to see Jay Lethal do something that is
Has
interesting
some
and
stakes
is
behind
more
it.
than yes has stakes for more than a match, right? Um, but yeah, I'm just totally game for that now. I don't even care. All my previous misconceptions out the window. Um,
Yep.
highlight of the match for me was the near ending spot where Darby goes to do his finisher and Jeff Jarrett just full body slams an acoustic guitar right in Darby's back mid air and it just goes everywhere.
I mean,
Oh my
how do you
god.
even pull that off at a live show? I don't know.
It was perfect. And just if that wasn't awesome enough, it just guitar pieces all over the place. Jeff Jarrett's like, yeah, all right, buddy, I got you, I win. And Darby gets up immediately and just like,
Sometimes a good
starts
no sell
screaming.
is the right
It's
move.
so good, dude. Darby is insane. Oh my god.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Great match all around. Sting and Darby take that one home. Uh. All right. Moving on to our next match, the interim AEW Women's Championship title match: Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter.
Correct
Brett,
yourself.
I had on a prayer and a dream put down Jamie Hayter as my winner for this match, and I'm so happy.
I know. Oh, same here. Same here. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the
You do.
situation everyone doubted. Ryan's notes here were, "I want Jamie to win, but no way in hell is that happening."
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? We're in the world where Jamie Hayter has a championship belt, and a proper championship belt, because since then
Yes.
they have taken the interim tag off of it. It is the regular belt because I assume Thunder Rosa's return time is just still not known,
Mm-hmm.
which is a shame because she's great. But yeah, we needed the title back because it just deflates everything around
Yeah.
the title. I do kind of wish that it happened at the last Dynamite and not the week after the pay
Yeah.
per view, so Tony could have
Because
had the glory of it being the full belt for a little while.
exactly. While it, you know, b- making something an interim title kind of retroactively deflates everything. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, making it not an interim title anymore does not retroactively
even if you
make it
pretend it
exciting
does, it
again.
doesn't. It doesn't
It
feel that
really
way.
doesn't. Yeah,
So
yeah. It's almost weird to see, if you make like a list or a diagram of all the, you know, the women's championship reigns or whatever over the
mhm.
first like 10 years of AEW's history or something. And Tony Storm's just going to kind of be in there. It's probably going to be considered pretty like low ranked for a lot of people because it just didn't have a reason to have a lot of, energy behind it because it was just an
She
interim
never
thing.
really had a real long term feud. She never really
Yeah.
had a moment to shine, which is unfortunate because she's a very good wrestler. It just seems
Mhm.
like the lack of people for her to go up against that can cut a promo and whatnot means that she is in that like top three of people who can at least often cut a promo and wrestle good, but uh, they just you can't constantly run her against Britt Baker and expect everyone to be interested because
Yeah.
Britt can't be the only heel in the women's division. It's really getting tired at this point. And hey, at least Jamie Hayter is stepping up now. She cut some good promos too on this match, which was impressive. Hopefully, she continues that, and we finally have more people we can count in that upper echelon of women's wrestlers that are actually able to do good promos and good matches back to back. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm really happy with the result here. I think both Storm and Hayter looked pretty good the whole match.
The match itself was really good for sure.
It
Uh,
kind of avoided the common pitfall of the one-on-one women's match pay-per-view of just not really having any exciting
yes.
exchanges.
Yeah, they had AEW does this pretty often, and I'm sure it happens everywhere. It's just AEW is the thing that I watch
Yeah.
the most and that we're doing a podcast on right now. Where they every so often they do the back and forth of you know, exchanges and pins in pretty quick succession that is really like stressful in the moment when it's happening because it's like again, Tony's not a bad wrestler at all. I do not want her to win at all. The entire arena is behind Jamie Hayter right now, and I think they knew that, right? Because they're just going back and forth and like constantly kicking out at like the just after like two or whatever at the last second, and just a lot of about to get up in either pure rage or ecstasy, and then nothing happens. So you sit back down again, and oh my god, it's gonna happen, and then back down again, and it finally does, and everybody freaked out. It was awesome. I am so happy that they
Yeah.
actually did it.
I do
Uh,
wonder if
and
Baker cheating here is going to play into any storylines,
I don't know. It's
because
I hope so.
I feel like I don't know if we're due a breakup of Jamie and Britt, but I don't think the pairing of them is as good as either one individually.
Hmm.
So I think something needs to come of that and be a breakup, but I don't know if that's the hill for that to happen on. I just think it's
Yeah,
we're due that at this point. Some
it's
difference in the makeup of these factions.
if the cheating isn't what does it, it could be a part of what does it. Because I know it was on the Dynamite
Hmm.
afterward, that Jamie was about to like say how happy she was about she was winning, and then Britt swiped the mic out of the interviewer's hand and started talking instead, and Jamie was like,
This is
okay.
really
So just
weird.
little jabs over and over.
But
It's got to
please,
boil over
just
at
don't
some
keep
point.
it going 6 months.
I will turn the television off. I
That's
do
the
not want it to
constant
go on for
problem.
that
Is they
long.
keep it's will they won't they for 6 months, and it's so annoying at this point.
And
You
they
can do that for one
coexist.
storyline at a time. You can't keep doing it for everyone. It's
Yeah.
truly hard to watch at some points. But our new champion, Jamie Hayter, very good match. Moving on to our next match here, our big tag team championship match with Swerve in
Oof.
Our Glory and the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed.
Everybody loves the Acclaimed. I I have to say, there are few things that you can experience as a mortal in this fleeting world that are on the same pedestal as being able to scream "Scissor me, daddy ass," and
With a live
scissor the
crowd.
person next to you. Yes, it's quite incredible. We had people before and after the show walking in and out of the arena doing the "Oh, scissor me, daddy" chant over and over again, and
I love that
and
that chant happened as well. That was
yes, it's so
truly
good.
incredible.
And this match itself was also like this good feud ender for these guys. I'm glad that I didn't try to make it like go
Yeah.
on for longer or whatever. This decisive victory for the Acclaim, and I think by this point it feels like they've like earned it earned it because there's been some debacle back and forth of, oh, daddy ass effectively got you those belts because he cheated or whatever, and he tried to come out
I
and
mean,
do
they
something for it, and
clean
was
beat
just
Swerve. Like,
yeah,
this was not
straight
a
up.
cheating win, not a other thing. I mean, over the course of the match, things like that happened, but Swerve lost. Like, this is a hard
Yes.
loss on Swerve's record,
uh
which I think is really exciting because Swerve can cut a promo about losing that I'm sure is
oh yeah,
incredible. So
his promo game is really good, and he double lost because Keith Lee just straight up walked out on him, and it was awesome.
it was the best part of it.
They were having like a just like a heated argument. I think it was Anthony Bowens that Keith Lee was holding, trying to set up a move on, and Swerve was like, "Yeah, we're gonna chop his fingers off. Let's do it. Let's ruin his career. We chop his freaking fingers off." And Keith Lee was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I would never do such a horrible thing in my life." And then he slapped him in the face, and Keith Lee was like, well, all right then. He just walked out of the ring. He took his armband off and threw it to the ground, and he just fucking left.
It's
Oh
great.
my god, that is
Wonderful.
that is oh that is you don't see stuff like that on the silver screen half the time, and this was in a damn wrestling match. It was awesome.
You know,
Oh my
absolutely
god,
wonderful. Love it. I can't wait to see what Keith Lee gets into next. The new shenanigans,
very
because
excited.
these two are opened up, and that's very exciting for the upper level of singles competition as well as potential other tag team matches. So I think both of them have shown they can be a really good tag team.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'd be okay with some pair ups with other people here because I think these are two good wrestlers to put in those tag team pair ups because they play really well off of another person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just imagining what a Keith Lee and Darby Allin tag team would look like.
Please, please. Oh my
Wild.
god.
Very fun. Yeah, the Acclaim took this one home. Brett, giving you another point for a total of 2.
Let's go,
Real confident.
baby. Let's go, baby. Oh
Real
my
confident in that
god.
prediction.
Yep.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really fun match. All right, moving on to our AEW World Championship.
Big boy time.
Big boy match going on right now. We get Jon Moxley with William Regal at his side and Maxwell Jacob Friedman for the big finale, the big moment we've all been waiting for, MJF to win a title. Which of course does happen, and it happens in the most MJF way possible, and it was great.
I we so I don't think that there's all that much talk about match wise here. I
I
think
mean, this
the
is just a
wrestling,
good Moxley MJF match. It's
yes,
exactly what you would imagine would happen when you have these two in a ring together.
yes. I think
I will
both
say,
of
I
them,
think MJF stood his ground relatively well for most of the match. They did a good job of making it look like he, even without his cheaty little tendencies, he might have stood a chance, maybe, but we'll never know.
doesn't matter in the end anyway. Because the most interesting thing that happened is that it was really MJF that had William Regal at his side the whole time. After all, I the just like it felt like 10 minutes. The segment of MJF pulling the ring out and being like, "Do I use it? Do I not use it? Do I use it? Do I not use it?" And William Regal walks out and he's like, "All right, fine, I'm not going to use it." He throws it out, and you can see the security guy scrambling to grab the legitimately expensive ring off the floor before someone else tries to grab it.
Yep.
Uh, and MJF was like, "All right, I'm gonna do this clean or whatever," and they wrestle for a little bit more, and it doesn't it like you're right, it doesn't look like MJF is totally like gone. At one point, he does tap because both of the refs that they
Yeah.
brought in are out. uh, but they still he keeps fighting
Because
after
that's a great
that.
way to preserve Moxley too. Because I think Moxley
Yes,
is at this point proven to be like one of, if not the single best wrestler in AEW for consistency in
yeah,
the
for
long
sure.
term. And I think having him lose clean is a really big moment at this point. And so they're
Mhm.
gonna keep that moment in their back pocket for a little later.
Yeah. And I don't think MJF, in retrospect especially, would be the person to be able to beat him clean
Yeah.
because this fits way more.
I mean, they're having him
Where
tap while the refs are turned, especially because MJF is not the one who led to that situation.
Mhm.
Like that was just they got knocked around by moves that they were doing in the ring. It wasn't a intentional knockout of the
Yeah,
refs. So
and it's not one refs; it was two
yeah,
refs. It was like that is like about as much like buffer of this is not like Mox's fault like as you could possibly get. Like how often? Usually it's like one ref gets knocked out and then they have to bring another guy in and it's over. But two refs thrown out of the ring. Um, while all this is happening, Mox is trying to get the ref back up.
hmm
William Regal slides the brass knuckles under the ropes and into MJF's hand to get MJF the win. And seeing that happen, you could, from where like, you just barely tell what was going on. And I didn't even really like. I just saw like something happen, and then a punch came out, and I was like, "They what? That doesn't sound right. Oh no!" But they actually did it, and I have to put on my Champlain College core
yeah.
professor hat here and really analyze the Shakespearean level storytelling that they have going on with this right now. Because how many weeks did William Regal spend telling MJF that he was nothing, that he's a little baby, that he's had it easy sunshine, that he's never, ever, ever going to be able to do anything himself? MJF's like, I'm fine. My mindset's changed. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And right when he's about to, William Regal himself, yeah, sure, he helped MJF win the belt, but
But he's
at
gonna think
what
about that for the rest
cost?
of his life.
Exactly. He is still a little baby. Cannot win without
I'm
his
so
toys.
excited for the fallout for this over the long term too, because
Yeah.
Blackpool is, I'm sure, gonna have some interesting stuff go on. MJF, I'm sure, is gonna have some interesting bits of his title reign, because right now he did not win that match clean. He lost that match by all accounts for the tapping beforehand, and then
Mhm.
won with brass knuckles. So how do you set up his defenses? Yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. I do hope we see MJF wrestle consistently, not every
That'd be
week, but
nice.
like at least once a month. I want to see MJF on my screen wrestling, because it's always a weird situation with AEW titles. They don't like having consecutive defenses. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they build that with MJF, because MJF is certainly a character that can pull the I don't want to wrestle except unless you've earned it thing, and have it be a little bit more believable than most other wrestlers. So I'm curious to see who's going to go for it.
He's got to fight Ricky now, right? Because Ricky
Yeah,
won the.
I think we know how that's gonna go, though.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying for like a matchup, that's a little bit of an interesting one. I feel like you wouldn't really expect that, like a year ago or a couple months ago, even. And also something to think about. That it's come time for our yearly MJF re-wins the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and he might not
That's
have to
right.
re-win it this time. He might, that's not the only thing he has now. It's also not the only way he can cheat to win his matches. He might switch to Nux. I don't know. But that's going to be interesting. I feel like, is that a Winter is Coming thing, or is that before that?
I don't remember. I felt like it was Winter is Coming, but it might be beforehand. We'll see.
Either way, it's coming soon. But yeah, I like the immediate aftermath, which I don't think they probably uploaded a YouTube video of what happened right after, but it was like a full like 5 to 7 minute thing at the end of the pay-per-view while everybody was walking out. Mox is being resuscitated by the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club, and they're like, he's like, what happened, man? I like blacked out or whatever, and you could see they're all like, you can't hear them, but you can see they're all like telling him what happened. Wheeler Yuta looks so sad, and Danielson and Claudio are just like all like gloomy. They're like kneeling at his side to make sure he's okay. And Mox is just like, you just see him just he's just like slamming the ring. He's so pissed. And it's just like at the Dynamite afterward, that interaction between Regal and Mox with Danielson in the middle, I don't even know, like I don't think anything like happened, but it was
Felt like
juicy.
it did.
It was. Ooh, my God! He basically just told Regal that he never wants to see his face around ever again, and now we might get some Danielson versus Mox things if things continue to boil over this way, which I guess means that Mox's vacation is officially canceled and never going to happen.
Oh yeah,
poor man will not rest.
Nope. We're tying him up real quick. Some other things got to happen. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this ends up going. I think this is a very exciting development here, and that leaves our final scores at 6-3 because we all voted for MJF. Nobody had any question about MJF winning.
I think
Brett,
everyone on there voted MJF.
No title for you. It is my title now, and we'll see if Ryan can take it again at some point, but not right now. That's our full gear overview. So we done did it. Anything from the last week of Dynamite and Rampage that we want to talk about? Outside of the title, the women's title becoming the full title, and we already talked about that. So
I feel like I
think we covered most of it.
Like the stuff in with the matches that they were kind of had to do with. So I don't think there's anything else. Oh wait, no, there is one thing. I feel like we haven't talked about the Dark Order in forever.
Yes,
and that's because there hasn't really been anything to talk about. I think they've been doing things on Elevation and Dark and stuff, but we've talked about how that like almost doesn't really like.
It doesn't feel like it should. That shouldn't be how a faction is handled.
Especially like you had me and a friend, printing out the classic Dark Order tear off posters and putting them around the college campus. At, like,
God, are you the person who did that?
Yes, that was Sid and I. We printed them out one night. We were like, "Oh, we're gonna put one in this room." And we were like running around and like.
Dude, I asked if Sid did that, and they told me it was.
They kept it up. I'm so glad. Oh, I have to tell them that I spilled the beans, but there we go. But yeah, I did have a couple of professors come to me and like, do you know what this is? Because I was sitting at the hub desk.
Those flyers are like weird and kind of culty.
They're threatening. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I don't know. It must be some kind of student event. And like the professor was like, all right, that's kind of strange. Whatever. But like people did tear off things from them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that you have like that kind of like ARG like world building there. Almost the website still has had nothing on it for like this whole entire time. And I'm purposefully not mentioning Brody, because as great and as important as he is and was for Dark Order and stuff, then as like it is an infinite shame that, you know, we had to lose him in the way that we did, especially.
Yeah.
But like, you can't completely just like let something kind of sadly crumble because ultimately one really cool guy isn't alive anymore. Like that sucks. That sucks for the rest of
It
Dark
feels like we could
Order.
have used that as a compelling storyline. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing with wrestling. Even when real events happen that are really sucky, you can use those for story purposes in a way that isn't disrespectful, obviously. But
Yeah.
I don't think this is what Brody would want. Is for the faction he was part of to just kind of crumble
Yeah, because
over
like
the next couple
Stu
of
isn't with
years.
the company anymore. Uh, just like a couple of the numbers like either are never on screen or they might also be gone.
Like Anna Jay
Uh,
is not really associating with Dark Order anymore right now.
yeah, and they don't like they never talked about that either, unless it was on like again, unless it was on like Being the Elite or something, but that's not on Wednesdays or Fridays. So why I can't be made to care about that. My mom and dad can't be made to care about that. They have lives, and they tune in for the 2 nights on the week to watch wrestling with their dumb giddy son who watch big meaty men slap meat. Uh, and you know now they've been building this thing where I think the Dark Order's down to like 4 guys, not including -1 now.
Yeah, which is
Like
really
even
not where it should be.
no, yeah. And, like, the only things that have been really happening concerning them is that, like, they'll be hanging out in the locker room, and then, Roosh and all the other guys that used to be with Andrade, but Andrade's in trouble right now, so no. Uh, th they go, "10, you should be on our side." Okay. And I've been, like,
There's just
trying to
no
remember, like,
there's no through
why.
line to that.
And it's like, yeah, like I guess the through line might be like, oh well, we win and Dark Order doesn't, and it's like, it still has clips on the Dark Order, the Titantron of the promos that they used to have with, "Are you tired of losing? Join the Dark Order." Like that's you could kind of do that again, and also everybody freaking loves them, and they just lose all the
Yeah.
time. Uh, so
Yeah, it's bizarre.
now,
It feels like they're just not the favored children of Tony Khan anymore, and so they don't get on
yeah,
TV, which is unfortunate because I think they're one of the most popular factions audience-wise.
at least they were. I think they
Yeah, I
might
don't know
not
about
be
anymore
anymore.
because they haven't been on TV in so long, but
Exactly.
and like I would have loved to see an actual storyline of Hangman doing something with them after his title reign,
I
but we just
know,
kind of haven't done anything.
because
Even Hangman has really not been doing much, which is
because
bizarre.
right now he's injured, right?
Yeah.
But you had months and months
There's
before
plenty of
that.
time where he wasn't
Exactly. And
injured and
all
wasn't doing anything.
yeah, like all that time almost feels wasted by now because now you can't do anything with him because he's out, right? And it's like, well, if you know, you could have this could have been made way more interesting if oh now Hangman was like the sole thing holding Dark Order together right now and he's out right now because of an injury and this would like it would feel like there's like something
The,
happening that they're
I'm
like
gonna pitch
falling
you the only
apart.
way they can salvage the current situation, and maybe base TK will come around again and enjoy Dark Order. And what's gonna happen is everyone's gonna leave except Uno, and then Uno's gonna have like a moment of despair, and then gonna go to Hangman and BTE and like complain about it, and then next week on Dynamite, Hangman's officially gonna join Dark Order, and it's just Hangman and Evil Uno, and then they're gonna run rampant through the tag teams and start winning consistently, and then you're gonna pull people into the Dark Order that way, and then you're gonna restart the faction. That's what happens.
I want that so bad. I don't
It's not,
know if
not
Tony
gonna.
Khan is going to see Evil Uno doing that. Because Uno is great, I think. Especially if you've seen some of his
Yeah,
indie stuff, he's great and just the weird like it's like half comedy wrestling, half actual wrestling, but
he
it's
also works
fun to
really
watch.
well in a tag team, and without Stu, he can't fall back on his regular tag team. So give
Exactly.
Hangman
Yeah.
something to do. Pull a Hangman and Evil Uno tag team for a while, and I think you've just got people excited because those are two
I
great
want
wrestlers
it.
people would love to see and the tag team division is stacked to all hell and back. So
Yeah.
It's not like they have a lack of people to go for. And I think you've got a lot of people that in tag teams that don't really matter right now, or who were in tag teams and aren't anymore, that you could pull into a Dark Order that is kind of reforming. It's just weird to me, the whole Anna Jay situation. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know why they keep doing this to her with these constant, like, not even gimmick switch-ups, but just kind of forgetting about her old thing and then loosely changing it and then going back to the showman thing. It's just a little odd. There's no through line. She had the Queenslayer title for years, and I don't think ever did anything that could be considered Queenslayer.
Nope.
Which is unfortunate. So, yeah, I think that they need to salvage the Dark Order or cut the tether at this point and let him free, because nothing is good is happening with them right now, which is a real shame. I really hope they can come around.
Yeah, we'll see. I ultimately, like, we could just be being worked right now, because yes, this is a bad thing happening to the Dark Order that 10 is leaving or whatever, but like, looking at this realistically, 10 is now fighting for screen time with Roosh, the leader of that faction, who is already not on the screen every week. Butcher and the Blade, who maybe show up once every 3 months.
Yeah.
The Bunny, even less. Penelope Ford, sometimes, I guess, even less. And Private Party weren't even there for this at all. So I don't know. And I guess Matt Hardy is now also, his contract is owned by Roosh now or whatever. They haven't done anything with that in a while. So I don't know. It's a weird place for them to put him. It doesn't feel like I'm being worked into feeling sad. It just feels like I'm actually sad.
Confused. I'm sad and a little bit confused.
It's like why is it like this? I don't know if 10 as a character has enough like oomph to hold up on his own, right? I don't know. He's just kind of been like cool as a member of that group, and if you're gonna do the thing,
his character recently has been, I'm gonna do it on my own. Like, I'm gonna be the guy who does it on his own, which isn't a character.
No, not a character.
As soon as you start to do something, that character is gone. So
exactly.
What is the rest of the character? Which maybe he could pull it off, but then I'm still sad it's not with the Dark Order. So
yeah,
unfortunate ending note. We're sad about the Dark Order and want to see more, but we really like the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the pay-per-view, incredible comeback for. I mean, it was really just one big slip up, because the New Japan pay-per-view was fantastic. It's just All Out was a little wishy-washy.
Well, it's been like a period of time. It's not just like a pay-per-view has been the problem. It's just been like, we had Double or Nothing. Immediately Punk gets injured. Then Punk is gone for a while, so we don't have a champion. Then we come around, and Punk is back as champion. Oh no, he's being a complete ass. And, oh no, we don't have a champion again. So it's been this kind of back and forth to fix issues, which the unfortunate thing is, because these were like real legal problems, you can't really reference them in storyline. Unless every party comes to an agreement or something. So that means you now have this big blanket of time that you just really can't talk about. And that's really unfortunate. That we've lost basically like 4 months of proper wrestling time. So
because one guy.
It's just a bonkers situation that took all the top guys out at once, essentially. It really unfortunate. And then Moxley stepped up, but man, it's been a rough time. That said, we'll see you on the next Wrestlecast. That's the end of the show. We talked about it. We'll talk about it again next time they do the big pay-per-view, which I think is in January or February. One of the two.
March.
Revolution is early. Revolution's a little bit further back. So
it's in
soon-ish.
California, I think.
Yep. That said, end of the show. Goodbye. I would say this is on a regularly scheduled time, but it isn't. So
whenever AEW decides to have their pay-per-views, there will be one before sometimes and one after at some point.
Yep. That's the
official schedule.
Watch the regular podcast Tuesday mornings 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice, or live tonight